Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Womenemies Podcast. Today, we have a big topic. It's a sensitive topic, and it's something we neglect a lot. Sleep. How many of us are getting enough quality sleep? It's something that so many of us look as a luxury, as I'll get to it tomorrow. We bargain with it, but we need to change that. We need to delve into the why. Why are we doing this? Especially as women, especially as mothers. CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, have said that adults need to get at least 7 hours of sleep. At least. It really is between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Many scientists and sleep doctors have said 7 to 9 hours of sleep. 7 is the minimum. 7 is not the goal. 7 is the minimum. Like, if I can't hit the 8, at least let me hit the 7. We don't want to be going into 6 or 5 or 4 hours of sleep every night. Why? Because sleep affects our concentration, affects our efficiency, our psychology, how we're able to communicate, our brain functioning. And over time, chronic sleep deprivation can increase the likelihood of diabetes, obesity, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, and a spew of other factors, both our health-wise, somatically, our body, as well as our psychological health. And it can impact our relationships because we're on edge more. We're not communicating. So we all know this, right? We've heard. Hopefully, we all know this. Now, if you don't, now you hear it. But we keep on making the same mistakes. Now, listen. There is a category called new moms that there's no way in hell that they're able to sleep 7 hours, 8 hours straight. They're woken up by a newborn, a toddler, dads too, but for some reason we say new moms because still the brunt work for the most part is falling on the mom, especially when she has to breastfeed or feed the baby and so forth. But when you get to that point where you've sleep trained your child, where obviously you have to have conversations if you are in a relationship of taking turns being on call at night. But when we get to a point where we can sleep those hours, meaning there's not a little human being waking us up, we need to be intentional with our sleep. From personal experience, I thought sleep was something I could sacrifice. I negotiated with my sleep. I had so many things to do in a day that sleep was something that was the one factor in my life that I let slide. For example, when I was vice president, I was working, getting up at 5:30 to get everything ready for my son, heading into work early, to leave at 5:30 or 5 o'clock to go pick up my son from daycare and then do the second shift of giving, bath time, getting things ready, taking care of my sick dad, my husband coming home, all of us doing bedtime routine, and then not eating until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, reviewing some emails, going to bed at 2 a.m. and being woken up by my father, who was not doing well, his health-wise, but I was consistently not sleeping for a couple months. I was sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a night, and it wasn't quality sleep. And every time I said, I need to sleep, but I have all these other things to do, so my sleep is gonna be the one that falls, to the side. It's gonna get sacrificed. And that led me to being diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. And also, I had to take time off to address my PTSD, which was from old trauma. But the sleep deprivation had added to my health problems to the point where my doctor said, if you don't take care of yourself now, you're going to be hospitalized. So, yes, that's a drastic situation. But even now, where every day I write down everything I do, because this is something I use to discuss with my husband when we're sharing the duties in the household, to truly understand everything I'm doing, because I won't understand everything I'm doing if I don't see it, because a lot of the time I minimize things that I'm doing. So over the past couple days, I've been looking through everything, and I'm ending my day at 11 o'clock at night, sometimes 11:30, handling, administrative tasks, household tasks, way after my son goes to bed. And in the past, I'm okay, 11:30, now I can go to bed. Well, no, if I'm done at 11:30, 11:35, I'm not going to go to bed. Even if I took a shower, I still wouldn't be in bed by 12 o'clock because my mind isn't going to shut off. If I'm pushing myself until 11:30, doing things throughout the day and making lists for the next day, I'm not giving myself any time to decompress. And so what happens? I scroll on my phone, I watch a TV episode, and then I start getting ready for bed, and it can go to 1 a.m. And I'm waking up at 6 or 7 in the morning sometimes to start my day and get my son ready. And I wake up feeling exhausted because I'm not intentional with my sleep. I'm thinking, okay, well, this household chore is more important. This email was more important. This handling our, administrative household finances and taxes and making the Excel charts, that was more important. But no, it really isn't in the scheme of things. And I can plan my days better, meaning I have to write everything down. You can't fix what you don't see. And what I started noticing is that I am pushing myself to the brink every single day. And what happens, I want some downtime. I want to watch a Real Housewives of one of those cities, just to relax my brain. I don't want to just be working and sleeping because motherhood is work. We need a mental break too. And a lot of the time when I'm pushing myself until that 11:30 or 12 o'clock mark, my brain isn't resting and I'm making to-do lists, and it's like I put my head down on the pillow and it's constantly going, 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 and I'm writing down everything so I don't forget something for tomorrow. And that wakes me up and that doesn't help me settle down. So what has helped me settle down? It's helped by writing everything I do so that I can see the patterns. And it's helped by making me say, okay, by 10:15, 10:30 p.m., I'm completely done for the day. I try to do it 10 p.m. Like that's my goal, but I'm working towards it. So let's say 10:30. So even then, if I want to watch something, I can give myself half an hour, 40 minutes. Take a quick shower, read a book, and by 12, I'm in bed. That's 12 to 7. Ideally, I would be done at 10 with everything, and by 11, getting ready to bed and sleeping at 11:30 to get 7.5 hours of sleep, or maybe sometimes 8 and waking up at 7:30. I know that's not possible all the time, but what is possible? Looking at my workload, not sacrificing my sleep, but am I sacrificing maybe a clean house? Yeah, some days I'm going to. Am I sacrificing eating leftovers or doing leftovers a couple days in a week? Yeah, I might have to. Or ordering something when I see that cooking will push everything back. Yeah, that might have to. Will it mean emails might have to wait, responding to text messages might have to wait. Yeah, does it mean having a conversation with my child and saying, these are the duties that I can delegate to you. I also need you to take a little more ownership of your homework, of, your keeping your room clean so I don't have to remind you because that takes time away from my work. Is it having a conversation with my husband and saying, these are extra things that I'm doing between 7 and 10 p.m. that I need us to divide up so that I can turn off my brain at 10 and read a book. So we first have to make sleep a non-negotiable. We have to say, I don't want to say 7 hours of sleep because that's the bare minimum. 7.5, 8, go for 8. And if you go down less, fine. But from like 11 to 7, have that be your sleep time. So at 9:45, you should be winding down. I know every family is different. Every sleep, some people have to go to bed earlier to wake up earlier. Figure it out, but figure out what's going on in the day that is pushing you not to be able to get that sleep, and address it with the person or the task, and make those the things you sacrifice rather than your sleep. If it means leaving dirty dishes in the sink, so when you get up in the morning, yes, you're not going to wake up to clean kitchen, but you handle it in the morning because you're more rested. Great. But no, Marilena, it bothers me to have a messy house. Okay, so institute every night a family routine of picking up after the house, a 10-minute routine. Everyone picks a room and does it, if that's going to help you rest easier. And if you have a lot of things on your mind, do a brain dump. Like at night, sit for 5 minutes and write everything, every frustration, every fear, every swear word that comes to mind. Just write it down in your journal. Rage on the page if you have a lot of anger. If you have a lot of anxiety, get it all out. And then you can say, okay, this is not fact. These are my emotions. These are my fears. This is my anger. What's true? What am I feeling? Okay, I got it all out. Tomorrow starts fresh. And then before you go to bed, write everything you're grateful for. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, read a book that you enjoy. Not something that's going to I wouldn't recommend a thriller, but a book that you enjoy that you can just sit down, not on a blue screen, cell phones or your computer, but an actual book that you grab and start just reading it. I guarantee you a lot of times within 5 minutes, you're going to fall asleep because your body is starting to get the cues like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. So let's go back a little bit. So we're making 8 hours of sleep a non-negotiable. Other things can be sacrificed. Schedules, some cleanliness, not everything being perfect, having to leave, certain work in the house to delegate it out, teamwork, and to force yourself to be in bed by a certain time and ready to sleep. Not being in bed at 12, but being asleep by 12, ideally at 11:30, and start setting it back every day. And you're going to see how amazing you feel. But when our mind is rushing and we feel guilty, another tip, when you actually get into bed, do the writing it out, get it all out. And if you feel anxious out after getting all that information, shake your hands, do some stretching, do something to get out that energy. Not like something really, you don't want to do any rigorous exercise right before bed, they'll keep you up. But like it could be stretching, it could be gentle movements, shoulder rolls, and then write down everything you're grateful for. And then read it or read a book that you like. Also, the house should be cool. Even in the wintertime, not just summer, it should be cool. About 68 degrees Fahrenheit is the ideal place for you to start to really go to sleep. So an hour before bedtime, make sure that the thermostat is around 68 degrees. Warm houses don't help you sleep as well. Those are a lot of things. And if you're really anxious about the next day, again, when you're raging on the page or writing down your anxiety or writing anything, then on a second page, write down a couple things that you don't want to forget and then leave it somewhere. But then tell yourself, okay, brain, anything you have for me, we need to discuss it tomorrow. And even if at 2 in the morning, you're like, oh, I can't forget this, I need to write it down, don't do it. Trust your brain that it will remember because you're loving your brain enough to give it sleep. Don't get up, don't turn on the light. Just say, thank you, brain, for bringing this up. I ask you for bringing it tomorrow. We need to wind down not only our body, but our brain. So by dumping anything out that we're thinking on a page, tearing it up, writing what we're grateful for, reading a book, we're signaling our brain to relax. We're signaling our body by lowering the lights and by keeping it 68 degrees in the house. At least an hour before going to bed, not to have blue light or screen time. That's why I said read a book, because your brain needs to relax. Have some water. You can meditate. I like to close my eyes and imagine certain dreams of mine coming true, certain goals I want and how I'm going to feel. Sometimes I say I feel my toes getting very heavy, now my knees, now my, chest and my shoulders. But that's really me talking through my body. And there's going to be days that I don't sleep and then I get anxious and mad that I didn't sleep. And that's not healthy either. So let's talk about that. There's going to be days where I do scroll on the phone. I try not to, but I'm human. And if there's a full day that I was not given a lot of mental breaks, I want to just be a little bit brain dead and read nonsense or scroll or watch an episode of some horrible reality TV that is so good sometimes, or even a show that I enjoy. And I need to be able to do that guilt free sometimes because sometimes we just need it. But one thing that has helped, and actually my therapist had helped me with this, is she said, allow yourself, 30 minutes, 40 minutes and say, I'm going to have this guilt free. So don't beat yourself up for it. And then go amongst your day because sometimes we need it. But if you start binge watching until 2 or 3 in the morning, you're going to feel like crap. The next day you feel like crap, don't yell at yourself because you're not going to change anything. Say, okay, I acknowledge it. I stayed up too late. I thought I needed that, but my body needs sleep. So today I'm going to love my body and my brain and my psychology and my health. And I'm going to go to bed on time, no matter what. When you start training yourself, then you're going to start training others to value your sleep as well. because when you're always doing everything for everybody else and saying, okay, I'll do this today, I'll just go to bed later. I'll You're sacrificing your sleep on a daily basis. And that means you're sacrificing your health. You're sacrificing time in the future when you're much older. Your health could be deteriorating because you didn't take care of your sleep today. And guess what? We all make mistakes. But the great thing is there's so much information out there that we can make baby steps every single day and congratulate ourselves on those baby steps, because baby steps make habit. So is it for the first week, you stopping watching an hour before bedtime and dimming the lights? Is it you then the next week setting an alarm on your phone at 10:30? Okay, let me shut everything down and start my routine. And then you move it to 10. Is it having conversations the following week with people in your house where you're noticing too much of the mental load and the everyday household chores fall on you and they need to be delegated so that you can sleep as well? Having those conversations. But you can start with just you going to bed a little earlier, doing the brain dump, then writing what you're grateful for, reading a book, and slowly start making a habit for yourself. Because I'll tell you this too, especially to the parents out there. We would never, ever want our child to be depleted. We go to the pediatrician and they're telling us, you need to go to sleep more. The child needs to sleep more. They need to sleep 10 to 12 hours. We adhere to that. We listen to that because it's best for their health. So how are we setting an example for them? We need to mother ourselves like we're mothering our children. And that is stopping viewing sleep as a reward and viewing it as a biological need. It is biologically necessary for us to eat, sleep, drink water, and exercise. And these are things that can't be sacrificed. And I get it. It's not going to happen overnight, but little changes and baby steps and really writing down your complete schedule and being honest with everything you do inside the home and outside their home. And then looking and seeing what can be moved and what can be sacrificed. But sleep cannot. So don't feel guilty about sleep. I've messed up so many times, but start making a routine for yourself and view it as you're truly loving your future self, your current self, because you're protecting your health and you're protecting your family by protecting your own health too, because you matter just as much as anybody else. All right. I want to hear from you. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing what baby steps you're taking to improve your sleep. Bye.